Hello, everyone, and welcome to another K6 Office Hours. I am Nicole van der Hoeven, and today we have my colleague Paul Balogh and our other colleague Marko Pandurovic. Marko, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey everyone, I'm Marko. I am based in Serbia, and I'm working as an engineering manager here in K6.
Awesome. So you're also, your official title, I think, is engineering manager, right? But you're also the backend, one of the two backend leads.
Yeah, I'm kind of still struggling on what to use, but I guess just doing a lot of stuff at once. But I guess official title is engineering manager. At least this is what it says in contract.
Well, what they say on the contract matters, I
Yeah.
suppose. But I think even more interesting is that you left K6. You quit and then came back. Why did you quit and why did you come back?
Yeah. It's a long story, but I guess in short, it's also a short story because I came back after about 7 months, I think. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey. The whole Grafana acquisition happened in the meantime, and of course, this is also, I used to be also an engineer in K6, so this is also a new challenge sort of for me because I'm in a different role now in K6. But yeah, here I am.
So you were on the same team, sorry.
No,
you were on the same team, right?
Yeah, I used to work as an engineer in the backend, and now I'm basically here as a lead also in the backend. But as you mentioned, we're still sort of one team, but we have two sub teams. Like Samuel is leading the first team, and I'm like a part of the second one.
So when you left, I guess that was one of the changes. You left and there was just one backend team. There were also a lot fewer people on the backend team, right? Then you came back and suddenly were there already two teams, or was it you coming back that kind of triggered that, or how did that work?
Yeah, I think it coincided with my return. I think I rejoined in January, and I think at that point we also had 4 more colleagues join in January. So I think at that point we started slowly splitting up the team into 2 smaller ones.
Yeah. So why are there two backend teams now?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's I guess we're growing on a very high pace, and things are not as simple now that you have. I think it's 11 engineers in the backend, and having just one person manage that becomes much more difficult. So it's kind of a logical step when you're growing, and this will also allow us to add more people in the future because we'll hopefully in very near future have everything set up so that we can onboard more engineers and grow both teams in parallel.
Yeah, usually that 5 to 6 people on a team is usually the sweet spot. That's what is it, the Jeff Bezos 2 pizza rule or something like that?
Yeah, I agree. We used to be in the backend at least. Well, originally there were much fewer than 5. Like at some point it was just the 2 of us, and then I think it was around 2019 that we onboarded a few more people, and we were like for quite a long period it was between 4 and 6 of us, and that worked well. But now that we're onboarding a lot more people, you have to change the format a little bit.
Yeah, well, growth is good, so that's a good thing for us.
Yeah, it's a great
Thank you,
thing.
Grafana.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a very a big change, but definitely if you're hiring people out of your own pocket, out of your basically income that you get from customers, it's much more difficult compared than when you have a big bank on the side.
So what changed for you when you came back? The 7 months that you were away happened to be like one of the most change-filled 7 months in the history of K6, probably because of the acquisition and like rapid hiring. Did you notice any changes?
I did, but at the same time, like some things still feel a lot the same, right? So K6 team is still a community, so to say. We're still like very, very well connected between each other, and the working as part of the team feels very much the same, or at least similar to how it used to work before. But you cannot help but notice some of the big changes that happened when Grafana acquired K6. Like everything's happening on a bigger scale, and the growth is much more noticeable now that we have like Grafana behind us. So yeah, I guess you can notice both, like the changes and the things as they used to be before.
Now, has there been any changes like really dictated for the back end, the infrastructure, now that we're part of Grafana?
Well, I guess the main changes for the backend is the fact that we've grown so much. Like basically, the growth happened not across, I would say, 7 or 8 months. It happened across like 2 or 3 months, because all of the new engineers that joined in the span of 2 months. As for the infrastructure, there are some projects that we are focusing on, like and they are related to Grafana, obviously, because Grafana offers a lot of the observability tools, and of course we in the backend want to use them. So there are efforts on that end as well. At least we're like put as a more of a priority as before, because we used to use like all the different observability tools, and now it makes sense to be on board with whatever Grafana has in their stack.
Because I think we were already using Grafana, right? But we were also using other tools like Datadog. But I guess it just makes sense now that we have an inner ear into what Grafana is planning and whatever. It just makes more sense to switch to Grafana stuff. We have more of a say in how Grafana will develop.
Yeah, for sure. And well, maybe I'm biased, but I'm kind of liking this change as well. But yeah, we used to have well, way before we didn't use that much Grafana, right? But before acquisition, we started switching to some of the products, but we still heavily relied on Datadog for our observability.
So there are two back-end teams, and we already had the other lead on, Samuel, and we had him on a few weeks ago. He was talking about private load zones. How do you determine between the two of you who gets what project? Like, is there something, or do you just talk to each other and whoever's available takes it?
Yeah, we just play
arm wrestling.
Play ping pong, and who wins gets to pick a project.
Smash Bros.
Yeah, it will have to be some virtual ping pong though. But yeah, it's we're still new to this, I would say. The teams are still working quite. They're still coupled quite a lot, and I guess we're trying to pick or split the projects based on the engineers that we have in each team. So whatever is a good fit. But yeah, that said, Samuel's team has most of the old timers, and my team is made up of new joiners. So we're taking it slow. And at least for this current ongoing work, we have, in my team at least, we have the SRE project, which involves the whole Kubernetes migration. And they're actually, all the backenders are from the team that I'm in. So yeah, in that sense, they kind of got this as a project in this cycle, but we'll see how it works in the future months. We do have some ideas, but we're still kind of taking it slow until we figure out the best way to do it.
Your team should have like a name, a cool name. So it's not just Marko's team and Samuel's team.
Yes, definitely we need a name. We haven't come up with one. I guess we've been delaying this decision. We sort of just refer to us as Team 2.
Yeah, but that's not nice either. You're not Team 2.
No, maybe if you just put like 2.0, that sounds much better, right?
Yeah, that's
There you
true.
go.
The improved
It's
version.
one more. Yes.
Yeah.
Fresh back in
man.
86 says there's always a Kubernetes migration. It's one of the constants in the universe.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. What are we? This has been an ongoing project for a while. Had it already started before you left, or probably not?
I started a long time ago. I don't know the full history. I was basically just on a long vacation in the meantime. But at least for the past several months, we finally are making some very good progress, especially on the backend side of things. So the last cycle, we successfully migrated a couple of components, and those were used as a sort of proof of concept. And they're
So
running.
what was the previous solution? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, we used to use, and we're still using basically for a very big part of our system, we're using the ECS, the AWS Elastic Container Service. And we're migrating to EKS, so Kubernetes counterpart. Yeah, but at least in this cycle, as I said, we have a very big team working on this because at least from the backend side, there are 3 people. And also the whole DevOps team is to like at least some extent involved in the project. So yeah, they're making some pretty good progress, and we're hoping by the end of this cycle to have a lot more of the system migrated to Kubernetes.
That's cool. So are we actually using the managed Kubernetes, or are we like putting our own into EC2 instances and managing Kubernetes on our own?
We're using the managed
EKS.
version. Yeah.
Okay, so EKS. Cool.
So why the switch? What was the original motivation for it?
There are several reasons. Some of them are feature driven. So we always get requests, or a lot of times we get requests for the on-prem solution, and this project will be used as a foundation for that. We don't really have a timeline for that, so at least we're moving in this direction and should help someday. But aside from that, it's also going to be used and useful for like experimental testing and spinning up environments on demand for us for internal purposes. Also helps with reliability and basically the whole. It's not just even the Kubernetes. We're calling it the SRE project because we're making a lot of other changes that help with reliability, observability, and many other things. So it's a very big project in that sense. It's not just about Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is a big part of it, but it involves much more things.
It sounds like Fresh back in 86 has the same situation happening. I think he was referring to going from ECS to EKS. And I think that mirrors a lot of companies' experiences because ECS, I think, is easier to start with, right? But EKS is way more extensible. And even AWS says that EKS is what they recommend for resiliency. So I guess as we grow, the more important resiliency is because we're effectively also load testing our systems with every user that uses us to load test their systems.
Yeah. I mean, usually when you have a few people, just a few people in your team, and you want to develop a product, you want to go fast, and I guess in some sense, at least. In my personal experience, ECS was easy to start with. But of course, you get much more resilience, as you said, and scalability and everything else with Kubernetes, I guess. And also you slightly, at least even if you use the managed service, I guess there's the vendor lock that comes into play. ECS is just another AWS service, but Kubernetes is industry standard.
Yeah, because in theory, I guess we could go to GCP and run GKE there for our Kubernetes instance.
Yeah,
but I think that's an even bigger thing since we're already all AWS. Stop giving Marko more work, Paul. Okay.
No, I'm sorry.
we're talking about like theoretical stuff here, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
So what exactly still needs to be migrated to EKS?
Right. So many of our core components, like we're tackling these as we speak, and I think hopefully will be at least around 50% or slightly above 50% of our components migrated after this cycle, which is in about a few weeks. And I think after that, the main part that is left is components that are basically using Celery and RabbitMQ as their communication channel, and also some of the components that are basically dynamically deployed, which are part of our whole provisioning process of how we spin up cloud test runs. So yeah, hopefully we'll be in a much better spot now than we were just a couple of months ago.
So Celery, that's a Python thing, isn't it? It's a Python queuing system, or?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, we're using it for basically everything that's being done asynchronously. And like just to name a few things, we're using it for provisioning test runs, for processing data, all things like that that needs to be done on the side.
So when is that scheduled to be rewritten in Go?
Here he goes again. Just more work, Marko.
No, we have like we have a few engineers that are very, very eager to try out Go. So I don't know, maybe we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I am a little tight with the Go community, so yeah, I have a natural bias towards it. So
no, I mean, yeah, Go as a language is yeah, it's.
Oh, look at this,
yeah.
Carlos, who is on Marko's team. Stop giving him work; he will delegate to us.
Okay, yeah. Okay, Carlos. I remember you were one of the people who mentioned Go, by the way. So
yeah, so I think it's mostly a Python backend, but we do have some services that are written in Go. Like I think the test coordinator is written in Go, right?
Yeah, everything that's very tightly coupled with K6 is written in Go. So services like test coordinator, which basically delegates work to what we call K6 cloud agents, is also written in Go, and some of the parts of our validation process are also like written in Go. Basically, a wrapper around K6 itself.
The OSS.
Yeah.
No, and that's one of the cool things too, is that, our cloud is actually using the open source, the same thing that you can use with the open source, just obviously where you and your teams are, providing some nice wrappers around things to make things run conveniently.
Yeah, that's right. It's always imagine it as a thing that it's basically just the next step in this whole process. Like you have the OSS library, which you can use by your own, like any way you want, and you can build stuff with it. You can even make your own if you want distributed tests. But if not, we're in the backend have a solution for you. So yeah, it's a nice, I guess, symbiosis of Python and Go in that sense, because we have an easy way to communicate, like either through AWS services and like directly provision stuff that we need, and that is based on K6, or just use REST API to get data and things from that we need that are very tightly related to what K6 does.
So how do you think the migration to EKS will affect reliability?
Well, hopefully, not just the migration to EKS, but the whole SRE project is meant to improve reliability. So one of the efforts of this project is to improve our observability dashboards, to improve alerting, to have better metrics that we send to our to send to Prometheus and seeing Grafana. and also the project, it's also about introducing some of the processes that we need to stick to, like also to have better deployments, decouple builds from deployments for that matter. And also like internal processes such as incident management and firefighting. These are all related, I guess. So it's as I said, it's a very, very big thing, and hopefully with each cycle we become better at it.
Yeah, and with those, you mentioned the deployments. It made me think too, like how frequently do we release a new update to the cloud? I'm kind of curious the cadence that we follow.
Yeah, usually once a week, like we have a main release, but in case we need a hotfix or some feature deployed in a on a short term, we can do like basically any other day. But yeah, like regular releases are happening usually on Tuesday.
Cool. Oh, that's like with Microsoft, isn't it? It's Patch Tuesdays.
Yeah,
that was always the thing.
Yeah, we're not looking forward to staying in this place. We want to have much more frequent releases. But
yeah.
I guess this is also one aspect that will be changed with the whole EKS migration and transition towards, for example, GitOps or whatever we end up using, because and also like adding a lot more testing, integration, and end-to-end tests, which will make us more confident in whatever we release. So for that matter, I would be happy if we just have it in production as soon as the PR is merged. But we're a bit like away from it. But hopefully every day we are closer to it.
Yeah. No, that's definitely the goal ultimately, be able to merge something, have it go through all the automated testing, and have the confidence that push it, ship it right.
Once you try it out the first time, then it's hard to get back to like the other thing. But yeah, it's we're working towards it, so I'm happy at least.
That's cool.
And the progress that we made in the past few months is pretty awesome, and hopefully we maintain the pace.
I'm curious, what are we? Oh, sorry. What do we use for our deployments? I mean, are we pushing Helm charts or into Kubernetes when we deploy each release, or are we doing something with the Argo CD or one of these other products?
For Kubernetes, it's Argo CD. Yeah, for ECS, it's basically just a combination of as soon as the build is done, it's pushing an image, and it's basically updating the ECS directly through API and just spinning up the new version of containers. So it's a combination of the two at the moment, since we're basically in the middle of this transition. But it's going well.
So what are some reasons why it's taken so long to migrate everything? What have you run into any issues with the migration or complexities, I guess?
Complexity, and I would say a lot of unknowns, because when you do something the first time, it's very hard to predict how it's going to go. But aside from that, we're all still learning about this, and it's also the fact that we needed to make some changes as a part of our backend work that will help make this transition, right? So just to name a few, it's improving the Docker files, like abstracting the dependencies, like implementing all the stuff that you need for Kubernetes itself, like and like readiness, aliveness, endpoints, things like that. So there are quite a few things that we needed to figure out at first before we were able to like push forward. Now that we have these Pathfinder components, so to call them just like that, it's much easier because we know what's to be expected for the most part.
Pathfinder components.
That's just a name I came up with, but it's like the things that we try out with, or proof of concept, if you will. But a big part of it, it's also the performance testing itself. So it gave us a nice opportunity to do some dogfooding and write K6 scripts.
So how will the data and storage also be changed in all of this?
Well, I don't know yet, but we're still the part that's migrated is not related. It's mostly related to just containers so far. Like we are using at least for the Postgres, we are using the managed RDS, and for Timescale DB, we're managing it ourselves. Like these are the two databases that we have. But yeah, I don't know if and when we're going to make changes in this areas. For now, it's just migrating the services and containers, basically.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Just this week, I heard about some Mimir. I don't know. It's well, that can change a whole back end though. Carlos might get worried again. So
it's another interesting topic, right? But yeah, I mean, I think we're all excited about this. We're waiting to see how it goes in action. But I would say that the solution that we have at the moment is still pretty impressive, at least for the metrics that we store, because both of you have not been at the company at the time, but we used to struggle with much smaller tests back, like, I guess it was almost 3 years ago, something like that, maybe more, maybe less. But then we made some changes and implemented basically some plugins for Timescale DB that allowed us to ingest much more data and basically scale the kind of tests the customers are running on our platform.
Yeah, no, and I just like to kid around about Mimir because
I think that would be I think that would be actually interesting, like maybe hackathon project. I don't know.
Yeah. And that's why I just, for those that hadn't heard, Mimir is a new product, open source product released by Grafana Labs. It's basically Prometheus on steroids. I mean, it's distributed and they're holding like a billion readings or metrics in a timescale database. So it's pretty exciting, but that was just released this week. So.
Yeah, I just posted the link in the chat as well for people. But I think it's like it's a multi-tenant, highly complex and scalable and resilient version of Prometheus.
Yeah.
It definitely almost feels like we have this comment here. SRE is definitely an iterative effort. And I feel like, you're working on one migration, but then by the time you finished it, I mean, who knows what it'll look like? Maybe there'll be another migration of some sort after that. Yeah. So things are moving really quickly. So it's definitely like an ongoing thing rather than a one-off and done thing.
It's always, migrations, refactors, and things like that, right?
There's always something new and shiny coming up, and then you got to switch to. So you're never done.
Yeah.
As a performance tester, I used to be really excited by different projects in terms of the throughput. So it was like, how many requests per second am I sending? And it was just really cool to see that go up. But a few years ago, I realized that it's not the companies that have the highest requests per second. It's the platforms that those companies are using. So I know that at K6, a huge part of what makes everything complex and your job complex is just the amount of load that we get on our systems, and then the data that we have to save and aggregate and then figure out how to store afterwards or during the test.
Yeah.
When we had Powell and Samuel on a few weeks ago, they said that the storage could go from 3 terabytes to 11 terabytes.
Oh, yeah, we can talk about terabytes, but what I'm more impressed is the thing that the customer is able to see, right? So just going from the transition that we made a few years back from being able to support just 2,000 views or something like that to 100,000 or 200 or even more virtual users, for example, with I don't even know what the RPS metrics would be like that we support, but it's always about that. And at this point, I feel like we've made all of these changes and we are super proud of ourselves. But yeah, we see customers running very small tests, and usually that's the kind of stuff they run. It's you don't get to see like 100K tests all too often. It would usually be just a bunch of smaller tests, and then you realize that yeah, you've maybe like you can take a step back now, and it's fine to work on other things. And we've made big accomplishments in this performance aspect of our system.
But I guess even then, if it's a bunch of smaller companies, they're all still happening at the same time, and we all still have to cater for them. So it's very it multiplies the load that we have to be able to deal with for sure. And there's also, I guess we are responsible for the end user's experience, right? But there are parts of that process that we don't control. Like we ourselves use AWS instances. So if there's an outage or some other bottleneck on the AWS side, we can't really do anything about that. And yet the perception of performance of that our users experience will be affected.
Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess if AWS or GCP or whatever is down, it's I guess the last thing they'll think about is load testing their infrastructure. It's just to make it work, because so many companies are using these 2 or 3 vendors, and they just depend solely on it. And it's a problem on a much bigger scale.
Yeah, but sometimes people might not even know, because we don't really show them the AWS side. It's just all K6 cloud to them. So sometimes that's a danger that they might think there's something wrong with our service, but it's not actually us.
Yeah.
So how do you think that all of these growing pains, as you mentioned, struggling with smaller and way smaller numbers of like just throughput and concurrency in general just a few years ago, to that coupled with, I mean, we were already growing even before Grafana, but then certainly the Grafana acquisition has put more eyes on us. So would you say that there are a lot of growing pains that you're seeing in backend now?
Yeah, for me at least, one of the big differences I noticed since Grafana acquired K6 is the kind of customers we've been getting, right? So a lot of enterprise customers that Grafana was probably already in contact with suddenly became customers of K6, and these customers have very high expectations of us. So in that sense, something that may have worked, or something that we may have been able to get away with before is no longer possible, right? So one of the things that we struggled with just a few months back is the failure rate of test runs and the errors. Like these customers, like they expect us to be super reliable, because we are like developing a product that helps them in turn be reliable. Yeah. So that was kind of like alarm for us to basically wake up and put some features on hold and say, okay, so now we need to get more serious, and we need to fix some things. I mean, in the past, like this cycle is it's yeah, I agree. It's the past cycle, I think, or the one that we're in currently is one of the main focuses is improving this reliability and like being in a much better place to support things that will happen in the future, not just the ones that are happening now. So we have to be ready for even like higher growth and even more customers with any kind of different demands, like even if it means like developing something specific for a particular customer, because now you're in the big ocean of these like where the big fish are swimming. It's the kind of customers we're seeing it. They are like they're big, and they will have some things they will expect or request from us.
Yeah, I can imagine that it probably won't be too long where different, I guess with the private load zones, maybe that some of these customers will be able to say, I want to use it with this particular extension, which right now the cloud doesn't support extensions. So I can see that happening.
Yeah, it's just one of the things. And hopefully in the future, we'll also have at some point this on-premise solution for customers. I think this is also a pretty big thing.
Yep.
And now that you mentioned the private load zones, that was also basically a request from a few customers, which are like, this is the thing that will convert them basically, and that will convert some future customers as well. So yeah, it's important for us to be in a good place so that we can focus on this kind of features and not have to shift focus on bugs or failures or outages. I mean, we're not just making code changes, we're also making changes in the processes to be able to better support our customers.
I think it's a good point that you made about the kind of customers that we're having. So it's not just the amount of customers, but the fact that we're getting more enterprise ones really changes the focus, because like if we just had startups that we were helping with our load tests, usually startups are way more used to using SaaS or platforms as a service type services. But with more corporate or more enterprise ones, that you get like the banks or government departments that have really, really stringent privacy and security policies, and they are always pushing towards like none of the data ever going to any server that they don't control, which I totally understand, right? But that's not where we started. So I imagine there's a lot of rethinking some design decisions that were made earlier on in K6's life.
Yeah. I mean, this design decisions, but also the focus on the features that we build, right? So many of the features were driven by enterprise customers recently, like the private load zones, right? But also the on-prem, but a few other ones like the K6 operator, and also in the future we want to have like Teams feature in our app, because now we're getting customers that have hundreds of developers, engineers, and they want a more granular way of managing these engineers in teams and specific projects and all.
Yeah, no, there was something, I guess, on the last the community call. I remember there was one of the feature updates for cloud was something about I guess typically in the past, anybody that was on for an organization, by default they would be lumped into the same project. And now with breaking things up into teams and organizations, trying to keep things separate, I guess that's part of it.
Yeah, it's kind of was inevitable, I suppose, at some moment, because usually when you have like smaller companies, they have just a few engineers that will run these tests, and now suddenly you have like hundreds of them, and different, and not just teams but also projects, and
where they scaled up bigger, that they can't just let everybody be an admin, have full access to everything.
Exactly.
It's an unfortunate part of getting bigger, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And there's also stuff on the authentication front, like the SAML SSO stuff, so that companies can use their existing kind of structure and permissions and carry that over into K6, so people don't individually have to sign up for a K6 account.
Yeah. Although with
things like sharing and reporting would be more important as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. To be fair, we had the SAML SSO feature for quite a while, but I suppose it was also a thing that was considered because there was a big customer and they wanted to have this. At some point, it's usually like that, right?
Yeah. So tell us how you work on the backend team, either the bigger, like the two teams together, or just on your team. How do you decide on a feature, and what are the things you think about when you're assigning people to work on that feature?
Right. So not just a thing of the backend, but also the whole engineering department is basically to work in these cycles that are 8 weeks long, and out of these 8 weeks, we use 2 weeks for planning, and also as a cool down period for the previous cycle. But yeah, the planning is the focus. Usually during this planning, we all of us work together on finding the right projects for the next cycle, like picking the ones that have high priority from the backlog, and basically forming this draft list of projects that we want to have in the next cycle. The engineers who get assigned to it, it's basically a matter of communication, just talking with people and finding who's the best fit, or who is the one interested in particular area that project covers. So basically, it's just it's a list of projects that can be just a week or two long, or for the full 6 weeks, or maybe it's also a project that requires collaboration between multiple people. And after the list is finalized and we have engineers assigned to them, it's a matter of using the 6 weeks to implement the stuff that we planned. And basically every project has a project lead, but many other people can be involved either on a consultant level, on a product level, or just as a backup person, or just multiple engineers working on the same project, just in different sub features, or whatever you want to call them.
So we also have everything. I was going to say, you're not doing everything with pair programming. Where
it's up to them basically to decide how they want to do it. Like it's the project lead decision, or the team decision, however they think it's best for them to work together. There are often also collaborations between many projects have like more people involved in the project, so it can be a collaboration between, for example, backend and DevOps team, but also between backend and front end, or case 6. Like there's usually it's backend involved, but I suppose some projects can have more than two teams involved in it. Backend is the glue, I suppose, here. So we are oftentimes pairing up with other teams, and starting recently, we try to schedule some meetings with other teams just to align on priorities and see where we have collaborations, and try to think about this in advance so that we are ready when the planning starts.
So I was thinking that maybe this is a good opportunity to say that we're hiring. We are still looking for people to join us. I mean, we're talking about growing really quickly, right? It hasn't stopped yet. I think in backend specifically, there aren't any jobs available right now. None of the ads there are about backend. But I think you did mention, Marko, that you're going to be looking, you as in the whole team, are going to be looking for 3 people in. Is there a timeline on that?
Not specific timeline, but roughly I think it's probably Q2 or Q3 this year. So we're looking for 3 more engineers to add to the 2 backend teams that we have. So yeah, come and play with us. But no, seriously, it's we had to, I would say, put a pause on hiring for at least 1 quarter, just to be able to give support to all our new colleagues. There's so many who joined recently, and we want to be sure that we're not stretched too thin, like helping everyone properly on board.
Yeah. So yeah, is that the Grafana Q2, Q3?
Yeah, I think so.
Because they're like 1 month behind, right?
Yeah, so that would mean, I guess, so Q1 is
May.
Q1 is until the end of April. Q2 will be starting May until end of July, right? So May, June, end of July. So I'm really hoping that we'll be in a good spot to hire in Q2. But if not, then most definitely it's going to be Q3.
So who are you looking for? This is your chance.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking for backend engineers. It's so if you know Python, but if you also know Go, that would be interesting. But our main stack is in Python. So it's
for now.
for now. So
There I
maybe
go
we'll
again.
call me Mir at some point. Just kidding, but it's no, it's yeah. I wouldn't say like I would be more than happy having a great engineer on the team, even if they're not a Python expert for that matter. So yeah, the like some of these are just like guidelines as usual with the job ads, but as long as you are experienced and good engineer and great at working in teams, it's a good starting point. So yeah, let's have a chat.
I think that's a number one thing for any position in K6 is that you have to be a good person first. Like everybody at K6, as you can see from the people that have come to these office hours, they're interesting people who are brilliant, but also, they are good communicators because we're all remote. So, if you're the kind of person who doesn't want to have to send updates or whatever, or clearly specify what issues you're having, this is not the team for you.
I would also say that we value people who are self-going and independent. We give a lot of freedom to people to work the way that they are used to, the way that they're comfortable with. So as I mentioned, the project that we have are basically you're given the possibility to plan your own work, to like experiment with solutions. We are not afraid of trying out new things. So yeah, if this sounds interesting, then we'd be happy to have a talk.
So what's your philosophies? Because you said you're a new people manager, right? You were an engineer before, but then when you came back, you became an engineering manager. So how do you manage your team?
Yeah, I mean, aside basically from what we just talked about, it's I guess my philosophy is just to be able to support people do the best work they can, just not be distracted with other things, and yeah, have a good workplace where they can grow. It's as in whatever way I can help help them achieve that. It's I'd be like happy and fulfilled with my role.
Do you actually miss being more hands-on?
It's a common question. I do, but at this point, considering that I'm also new in this role, I would say that it's necessary for me to focus on the sort of managerial parts of the job, but also helping set up processes that we need because we're growing so fast, and some things that used to work when we were smaller may not work as good now. So yeah, it's some things that I've been focused on, and yes, from time to time I may be distracted with some minor coding task, but I'm trying to stay away from it, at least not because I want to, but at least because I think it's at this point better, because even if I'm able to contribute with some, I don't know, project that involves coding, it's not going to be better than having 4 or more engineers in my team if they are like 100% productive. So they are always going to perform better like than just me. So my focus is to help them achieve that instead of focusing myself on some of the coding projects. At least I'm currently not in the spot to do that, but we'll see in the future. Who knows? Maybe that changes.
Sounds like some of that. It's servant leadership, I guess.
Yeah, it's
insert buzzword here.
Yeah, it's a buzzword, but
yeah,
yeah, I on purpose I try to stay away from it. But yeah, it comes down to that, right? It's about them doing the best. They're all great engineers. Like we have a pretty great team, and like helping them be productive and focused on the right stuff. It's much better than me just going into code and like pumping out PRs or whatever. It's at least even at this point, it's also interesting for me because I'm experimenting with a lot of things in my role and trying to help out with setting up some processes and best practices, how to better work as a team. So it's a different kind of challenge that you also have, that you can also leave a good impact and make some positive changes. So it's not that this is boring for me. It's more like there's so many stuff I want to do, and I only have 24 hours per day.
It's the name of the stream. This stream is building reliable systems, but it strikes me that part of building a reliable system is also building a reliable team.
Yeah, I guess it starts with that, right?
I like that. I feel like that should be on a poster behind you there, it's one of those inspirational posters.
Like one of those cat ones, like, hang on.
There we go. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But it is true, right? Because even if you have amazing engineers that are maintaining your back end, if there are only like 2 of them and neither of them can ever be sick or take vacation, that's a huge issue that will affect your application's reliability.
Yeah, definitely. It's just one aspect of it, right? It's also one thing that I kept noticing in my previous roles is that like it doesn't matter if you have a great engineer if you're not like getting them some challenging projects and work to do, they are not going to perform as a senior or like a principal engineer because they're getting stuff that's way below their skill set. So you want to utilize the team that you have as best as you can.
How long has it been since you came back from the dead?
Yeah, it's like I'm a Walking Dead now. It's been I think 2.5 months. So yeah, I rejoined.
What a noob.
Yeah.
I don't know, but actually you've been at K6 for a while before that. How long were you at K6 before you decided to abandon us?
It's been 2.5 years, and yeah, it's been a sad moment. Like you pick these words, but I would say I really missed you folks. So it's I'll play that card.
No, we missed you, and we were super happy to hear that you were coming back.
Yeah.
Even though we deleted your README already.
Oh, yeah, that's something it's going to be hard to forget, but I'll be able to forgive you for this. No, it's actually the funny thing is that we have this on Git, so it's just it was still there. It was just a matter of reverting the change.
Yeah. I saw that, and I was reading through that, and that's where I've been waiting for this question for a long time because I happen to notice one of the bullet points on there, and it's not technical, unfortunately.
No, the bullet points are. I need to update that README. Yeah. They're pretty old.
But there was one about you caught a drumstick at your favorite band's concert, and you might notice that I'm kind of into music and that. But, so what was the band?
Pendulum. So
okay, I don't know that band.
It's basically some
disappointing, Paul.
Yeah,
it's a drum and bass kind of group. They disbanded until recently, and they haven't produced anything new. But at least they had some tours, I guess. But the funny thing is, I was really young at that point, but I had to battle like 3 people for that drumstick. Like it was at some point the 3 of us holding it at the same time, and I don't know, did I have like the least of the stickiest fingers? I don't know, but for some reason I managed to get it, and then I held to it like it was so precious. After I basically had to go the entire evening with the drumstick in my hand, but yeah, it was totally worth it. I have it it's not in this apartment, but I need to get it back. It's my I had it like framed and with all the date and stuff. So I was super proud of that. Even though I'm not like super into music, but I was really, really a big fan of Pendulum.
That's
Back.
awesome.
I think it was actually 12 years ago now.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely going to have to listen to them. So they're from Perth, Australia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Cool.
I
Yeah.
probably should have known about them then.
Okay. So you're giving me crap. Huh?
Oh, yeah, but I don't claim to be into music. There's a big difference, Paul. Come on. You put a guitar in the frame, you better be prepared to talk about it.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, there was a time frame where I was just kind of like out of the music scene completely, and that was right around the time these guys were from like 2002. So.
So I brought up not to
fault.
be outdone by Paul. I brought up your your README as well, and it says you learned English almost entirely by playing video games. Tell us about that. We have not talked about this.
No, it's I was a 90s kid, right? So it's mostly been PlayStation 1 for me and a few PC games, but I had like a super big collection of PlayStation games. I don't know why I stopped playing them. I guess at some point you don't have that much time. But as a kid I used to play them like probably more than I should have.
I still do that. I'm playing through Pokemon, the latest Pokemon, Brilliant Pearl, something, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl that Leandro mentioned. I'm playing through it in Spanish, actually.
Yeah, that's basically how I learned English to some extent, I guess. It's I suppose it was a new thing back then because games were not super big, especially the ones that had a lot of text. Well, actually, that's a lie, probably, but still, at least for me, it was a big part of how I learned English. I'm still not on the level I would want to be, but it's basically I don't remember ever like studying for an English exam before. It's just it was easy because I already knew a lot of stuff just from playing video games.
Yeah.
So at K6 we have this option, although I don't think it's taken up very frequently, of kind of being an intern somewhere else. So if you had to be an intern in another department, and it can't be just like the other team, the other backend team, it has to be like not backend. What would you choose?
CS team, customer.
Wow. That's so
that's
awesome to hear them get some love.
Yeah, it's I'm not sure how like feasible this is going to be, but at some point I would definitely want to do that because I think big part of this work is better knowing our customers, and our customers are other engineers, so it doesn't get much cooler than that. It's not like I don't know, you're supporting bank users and they're angry because their money got stuck in the ATM or something, but you get to actually speak with other engineers and probably learn a lot of stuff because I suppose a lot of companies are using our tool in different ways, probably in some ways that we have not even thought of. And I think it's, for me at least, it would be experience that I would very much like to do at some point.
That's a good answer. A wrong one, but still a good answer. Clearly, the team that you should join is DevRel.
Yeah. I was like in my head, I was like asking myself if this was the right answer because I was going to get burned by it. But I still
we talk to other engineers all the time.
DevRel, if you work hard, can be in the second spot. So we'll see.
Oh, if we work hard.
Yeah. Just kidding.
See, we really needed Leandro here because he's got that little soundboard, I think, and could have had that little sound effects going on for some of these. Wrong answer.
Sorry. Maybe next time.
No, that's awesome. I do also agree. I think customer success doesn't get enough love. and they keep the lights on for the rest of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's they don't get nearly as much love as they need to. It's a huge part of why we are here now, because we had an amazing team on the front lines, and talking with these customers and companies, and getting us like all these users that we actually get to learn from at some point. It's not just about these users learning from K6, but it's the other way around as well.
Well, we're really happy that you decided that you realized you were wrong and came back to us.
I was like going to say I didn't realize about K6 being the DevRel team being in the second place. So you were referring to the previous.
No, to the company. Just to wrap up here, I am truly happy that you decided to come back. I think that says a lot about how amicably the split went, because you could have left for some reason that that was like not something that could have been fixed. But clearly you, despite the fact that none of the managers changed except for you, you clearly felt comfortable enough to come back to your home where you belong.
Yeah.
So
it feels like home, definitely. So yeah, I'm glad to be back. It's great to be here again.
Well, thanks for coming on Office Hours too. If Carlos is still around, Carlos, he did nominate you for the next person to come on Office Hours at some point anyway.
Yeah.
And for anybody...
Ever since Pendulum, he's been awfully silent, but...
suspiciously so. And for everybody else who is watching with us, thank you for spending your Friday afternoon or morning, depending on where you are with us, and have a great weekend.
Definitely.
Have a
Bye,
great weekend.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.